The fun thing about being a feminine woman is that we get to have this fun play of words and we get to use these sort of manipulation tactics, but not a bad or negative manipulation, but a positive manipulation. So what does that look like? Well, as I always say on here, you don't want to go to men with solutions. You want to present them with problems instead because they are Mr. Fix-It by nature.
If you want men to give you everything you want, you have to manipulate them. This don't work. It works, but it's not for everybody, okay? Because if you're just such a good person and you're a lover girl and you just, I just can't because I'm just going to leave, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, if you want to learn how to manipulate men, step one is you act obsessed with them, get them wrapped around your finger. Then step two, you snatch it all away from him. He's going to question in his mind, what did he do wrong? He's going to try to step it up.
Women despise the manosphere, and let's be honest, it's not because it's toxic or misogynistic. That's just the cover story they use to dismiss it. No, they hate it because the manosphere equips men with the knowledge and tools to protect themselves from being manipulated, exploited, and discarded. It pulls back the curtain on the game they've been playing, making it infinitely harder for women to take advantage of men who are now waking up to the reality of modern relationships. Think about it. The manosphere teaches men to recognize red flags, avoid being trapped by the wrong woman, and prioritize their own happiness and well-being. It's not about hating women, it's about refusing to be a doormat or a resource dispenser. And that terrifies women who've built their playbook around exploiting men's naivety, selflessness, and desire to provide. The manosphere exposes the tricks, love bombing to reel men in, weaponized tears to win arguments, and the constant shifting of goalposts to keep men jumping through hoops. It calls out the double standards that modern women love to enforce, how they can demand traditional chivalry while simultaneously rejecting any traditional responsibilities. When men start recognizing these patterns and refusing to play along, it's game over for women who relied on manipulation to get their way. And let's not ignore the financial angle. The manosphere encourages men to protect their assets, avoid unfair family court rulings, and steer clear of gold diggers. Suddenly, women who were banking on a man's paycheck for their princess lifestyle are realizing that men aren't lining up to foot the bill anymore. They hate the manosphere because it teaches men to ask questions like, "What am I getting out of this relationship?" Questions that many women don't want to answer because the truth is often unflattering.
All right, guys, listen up. Okay, these are some ways that women try to manipulate you. Let's get into it. Using the age-old trick of sexuality. Women have been doing this for ages to get money, to get power, to gain control over men. Utilizing their emotions, crying, making you feel bad about your decisions by being so emotional by whatever decision you're deciding to make. So utilizing their emotions to get you to do what they want you to do. Using shaming tactics, making you feel bad about the decisions that you're trying to make. Like, oh, you're going to really go out with your friends and not spend the night with me? Yeah, that's by trying to make you jealous. Playing on a man's hero instinct. All right, y'all, these are some ways that women try to manipulate you.
But the biggest dagger? The manosphere dismantles the narrative that women are perfect angels who can do no wrong. It holds women accountable for their actions, exposing how modern feminism has encouraged entitlement, narcissism, and a complete disregard for men's needs and emotions. Women hate being called out, especially when it comes from men refusing to bow down to their demands. Ultimately, the manosphere represents freedom for men, freedom from toxic relationships, freedom from societal expectations to sacrifice everything for a thankless partner, and freedom to live life on their own terms. And that's why women hate it. It's not about misogyny. It's about men taking back their power. And for some women, a man who isn't easily controlled is a man who's dangerous. So they smear it, attack it, and try to shut it down. But the manosphere isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay, and men are better off because of it. The manosphere gets a lot of flack, but let's cut to the chase. Women hate it because it teaches men how to outmaneuver the traps society and modern dating set for them. Here's the deal. It's not about misogyny. It's about survival. The Manosphere's core teachings? They're kryptonite to women's ability to control, manipulate, and exploit men. Avoid marriage? Of course, that terrifies women. Marriage is the ultimate leverage tool, giving women the upper hand in a system where men are statistically screwed over in divorce. Who initiates the majority of divorces? Women. And who bears the brunt of financial ruin afterward? Men. The Manosphere simply says, don't sign a deal where you bring the steak, and she brings the appetite. Naturally, that's threatening to women who bank on legal contracts to secure lifelong payouts. Stop over-investing in women? Oh, that hits a nerve. When men refuse to play the role of walking ATM machines, it disrupts the gold digger game plan. Women love to preach about equality, but when a man starts demanding a relationship built on mutual effort rather than financial servitude, suddenly it's toxic masculinity. The Manosphere advises men to vet for character, not cleavage, and that infuriates women who rely on men being blinded by the latter. Put yourself first? How dare men prioritize their careers, goals, and happiness over being a 24/7 emotional support system or bank account for a partner who contributes little in return? The Manosphere empowers men to reject the happy wife, happy life nonsense and focus on what actually makes them happy. That message scares women who've been raised to expect men to sacrifice endlessly for their benefit.
What happens when you give a woman attention, approval, validation? She feels that her sexual market value is higher than yours. Meaning that at first when she met you the first couple weeks or the first few days, she looked at you up here. All of a sudden, the more approval and the more validation you give, she now starts to view you down here. Her sexual market value in the eyes of a woman can fluctuate.
Barack Obama, when he was president of the United States, is the most powerful man in the free world. Do you think he would tell Michelle, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to text you, I'm the president? Hey, baby, you have to go figure out what you want to do with the family because I'm the president? I guarantee you it never came up. Why? Because as much as he's the president, his wife, his love life, is his priority. Now with technology, we can text, we can send a voice note, we can do a video. There's so many ways to stay connected with somebody you care about, someone you're dating, someone you're in a relationship with. So when someone says, I'm too busy, just an excuse. You're not enough of a priority for me to adjust my day to communicate with you. I want to say it that clearly, not to upset you.
I do. I wanted to upset you. I wanted to upset you for this very reason. Every time in the history of your life where somebody told you they couldn't, they were too busy, they don't think of you enough. I wanted to piss you off. I wanted to put a chip on your shoulder so now everything you do is to get more valuable. Because a focused, a dedicated man is one that's valuable. Dealing with these girls, you are a backup. A modern day average woman that's a 5 thinks she's a 10. She will flake on you. They will cancel on you. They not going. It doesn't matter, my nigga. What I'm telling you is to get your value up because.
But here's the kicker. Women don't hate the Manosphere because it's wrong. They hate it because it works. Men waking up to these realities directly impacts women's ability to lock them down, leech off them, or guilt them into staying in dead-end relationships. And let's talk about the misogyny card women love to throw around. It's a smokescreen. Women habitually warn each other about men's dangerous traits, whether it's being cheap, aggressive, or deceptive. The double standard is laughable. When women generalize and criticize men, it's called empowerment. But when men do the same, it's suddenly hate speech. Sorry, but you can't have it both ways. At the end of the day, the Manosphere isn't doing anything revolutionary. It's just holding up a mirror. And that reflection makes modern women uncomfortable because it exposes the cracks in their carefully crafted narratives. If calling out double standards, protecting yourself, and refusing to be exploited makes men the bad guys, then maybe it's time for women to take a good, hard look in that mirror themselves. Modern women, let's talk. You've spent decades shouting from the rooftops that you don't need men. Independent queens, right? But now, look at the mess you've made. Suddenly, as loneliness creeps in and that clock ticks louder, you're realizing men actually do matter, but you're too proud to admit it outright. Instead of valuing men as partners, modern women continue to treat them as disposable utilities, there to fund your lifestyle, stroke your ego, and take the blame for all your unhappiness. Let's get something straight. Men aren't just ATMs with muscles. They're not emotional punching bags either. They're human beings with their own needs, ambitions, and desires. But do modern women care? Of course not. It's all about them. The narrative has twisted into a bizarre reality where women expect men to do everything, provide, protect, fix things, and still have time to shower them with attention. But God forbid a man asks for respect or appreciation in return. No, that's patriarchy, right? Here's the real kicker. Modern women don't just devalue men, they actively resent them. A man's hobbies? Toxic. His ambition? Selfish. His desire for peace and autonomy? Fragile masculinity. Yet these same women will turn around and demand unconditional devotion from these so-called flawed men. Oh, and if the guy dares to have standards, like wanting someone fit, kind, or drama-free, he's shallow and misogynistic. Meanwhile, she's free to demand a 6-figure salary, 6-pack abs, and 6 feet of height, because knowing your worth is apparently a one-way street. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room: feminism. What started as a movement for equality has turned into a weapon to demonize men. Want your wife to cook? Misogynist. Prefer to relax after work instead of attending to her emotional roller coaster? Oppressor. Heaven forbid you suggest traditional roles might actually make sense for some couples. Now you're a relic of a bygone era, stuck in the dark ages. The concept of partnership has been thrown out the window, replaced by a one-sided contract where men give and women take. And when this all backfires, when men decide they're better off single, opting out of this rigged game altogether, guess who's crying foul? Modern women, shocked that their you-go-girl lifestyle has left them with nothing but brunch plans and boxed wine. But here's the hard truth. The loneliness they're experiencing? That's not men's fault. That's the natural consequence of treating half the population as disposable. So, what's the solution? It's simple, really. Value men. Not for what they can give you, but for who they are. Appreciate their efforts, respect their autonomy, and meet them halfway in building something meaningful. But let's be real. Most modern women won't do that. It's easier to play victim, blame the patriarchy, and cling to their delusions than it is to look in the mirror and realize they're the architects of their own loneliness. So, enjoy the single life, ladies, because if this trend continues, that's all you'll have left. And that's it for today on Sigma Traits. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. Support this channel through membership. You can also support through PayPal, link in the description. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.